Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a gathering place. I am in a new location for the moment this afternoon, Starbucks. So it's dragging just a little bit, so my apologies. But I am so excited about our guest today, Miss Latrice Bush, with the Fish and Grits Music Festival that's coming up, and we're going to learn more about that festival, how she got it started, where it is, why, and if you want to go, how you can get to that festival. This is a great way to celebrate our Gullah Geechee culture, and I look forward to meeting Miss Latrice Bush. So without further ado, we're going to have our opening, and we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Marilyn Hemingway, and welcome to A Gathering Place. I said, I'm stepping back because we have young voices who want to be heard and they're moving on something.
Branding is really important to you and your business.
Even the basic type of technology, you learn it all.
And people are
Good question.
Well, we're back, folks, and before I bring on Latrice, she told me about a video that she wants to share with us. So let me go ahead and bring that video up regarding the Shrimp and Grits Festival so we can take a look at that and see what's going on here. All right, and here we go.
2022 Low Country Fish and Grits Music Festival. This family-friendly festival will be held on October 1st at the Low Country Celebration Park on beautiful Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. The Fish and Grits Music Festival will bring awareness to the unique Gullah Geechee culture and its connection to the vast African diaspora by showcasing a mix of international and local talent, unique crafts, and indigenous cuisines not easily accessible outside of the Low Country. Go to fishandgritsmusicfest.com, grab your tickets today, and join us for good food, good music, and good times. A portion of the proceeds to benefit the Hilton Head MLK Committee for Justice and the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor.
Excellent, excellent. And let's welcome Miss Latrice Bush. All right, Latrice.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. My apologies for the little technical hiccups here.
No
you know,
problem.
when you get one of those afternoons when you have a lot going on, and so I slid in hot to Starbucks.
One of my favorite places, by the way.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And I'll have to get my favorite drink before I leave. But let's talk about, while we're talking about it, I'm going to bring up the website. But tell us about yourself, Latrice Bush, and how did you come up with this wonderful idea of the Fish and Grits Music Festival celebrating the Gullah Geechee heritage?
Yes. So my name is Latrice Bush. I'm actually a Gullah Geechee native from Bluffton, South Carolina. And growing up Gullah, you experience well, when I was growing up here in Bluffton, going to church. One of the fondest memories about being Gullah Geechee is going to church and being in the pew in the congregation when your grandfather or your father gets up and speaking in that pidgin and dialect of Geechee and admonishing the congregation to do something like clean up the graveyard. It's a shame. We should be cleaning up the graveyard. We should be helping each other more. So, but as a young girl going to public school, where you're not being taught about Gullah Geechee, you're not being taught about your culture and all, you're just kind of cringing every time you hear your family members talk because you're thinking, oh, the teachers back at school won't like that. But then you look around the church and you realize, wait a minute, we all family anyway. Everybody talks like this. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's right.
This is who we are. This is how we praise. This is how we sing. This is the way we move. This is who we are. But so it is that dichotomy of being Gullah Geechee, being African, being Black, being a woman, and then having to go out in the world and be accepted. And so that was one thing. And then one other, and again, because it's not taught in our schools is not actually, in my opinion, talked enough about in our churches about what the culture is. Now I'm seeing the spirituals in church. I definitely know the old spirituals. I definitely have heard and know that people call me Geechee, but that wasn't a compliment growing up being called Geechee. It was we were made to feel very inferior, and that with the way that we operated and showed up in the world just wasn't it just wasn't the best. And so, but I remember and recall going to Hilton Head Island, and then of course for me, I've been exposed to not just Black folk, but not just Binyas, but I've been exposed to a lot of Kamyas where I'm from, near Hilton Head Island and Bluffton area. So, but I remember going to Hilton Head Island High School. I was going to a practice, and I was going back into the high school. And as I when I was going back to the inside the school, I was approaching the gym, but then I heard these two women. I looked down the hall because there were folks who came from the islands to work after school, and I heard these two women down the hall. And when I looked down the hall, I mean, they look like me. They could be my aunts. They could be my cousins, but they were talking to each other, and I had no idea what they were saying. But I recognized I recognized them as being Geechee, and they were talking to each other, but there was something about something about that experience that made me know that no, there's something very unique about this. This is not slang. This is not gibberish. It is absolutely something literally that I can't understand, but they are communicating. But I let that slide. I just let it go. I'm like, oh, let me go to practice. But then I went to the University of Georgia, this institution of higher learning. And I'm sitting in a diversity class, and this instructor of non-African descent, starts talking about these special people on the coast of South Carolina. And they call themselves Gullah Geechee. They're the Gullah people of South Carolina. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. The University of Georgia is bigger than the whole town of Bluffton and Hilton Head put together. How is it that for me, growing up in an area not really being seen, how can I come to this place where I feel like a drop in a bucket? And this man is recognizing my people, my culture, who I am. And so he continues. He says these people have their craft ways, their food ways are inspired by their African ancestors. And then this part right here, Marilyn, blew my mind. And it took me right back to that time when I was in high school at Hilton Head High School. It took me back to those two women when I heard them talking to each other, and I didn't understand what they're saying, because he said they also have a language. Their language is called Gullah, and it has rules. And so I was like, oh my God, all this time I'm sitting in church being embarrassed. I'm not. I hate the fact that people call me Geechee because I like a lot of rice. It just came full circle, and I felt so proud, and I felt so seen. And I'm like, I want everybody in my family, first of all, to know that I apologize for not loving us more than I did, but for being embarrassed. I literally, after that class, I went home. I went to the payphone, because back in the day it was early 90s. I went to the payphone. I said, Mama, tell Daddy that I'm okay with him talking in church. I mean, Gullah it's amazing. Gullah Geechee is amazing. We're a people. We have a language. We should be proud of this. And so my mother, who was on the school board for 26 years, she retired, Laura Bush. So she was like, she listened to me. She's like, oh yeah, Trace. I mean, yeah, of course. But it was a pivotal moment in my life, and from that point on, I recognized that I was proud to be Geechee. I was proud to be chocolate and coffee colored. I was proud to have my hair coiled very tightly. And I mean, of course, you go through your changes, because I mean, I'm near 50 now. Back then, I was an early 18 or 20-year-old. But my point is that from that point, that was when I realized how special I was and how special my people were, and that I was proud to be Gullah Geechee. And I don't know if that's when the Fish and Grits Music Fest birthed, but it was certainly when my true identity about who I was and my pride of being Gullah Geechee, that's when it really resonated.
I am hearing this story, your story, much more often now. I think people are at a younger age coming to the appreciation of our culture at a younger age. I can understand the journey and appreciate the journey. I think I too have gone through that journey.
Yeah.
I recall a cousin of mine. I also invited her to come on to this show because she owns Sweetgrass um, Gola collection. She does sandal shoes. She's a shoemaker, a shoe designer.
Great.
Yeah, and she has a website and everything. But before she started designing shoes, she took a year off of her life to appreciate who she was and her culture. She
Wow.
immersed herself in the culture. It's like but there's a disconnect because no one walks. I tell people no one gets up in the morning and looks in the mirror and says, I am Gullah. It just is. We just are. It's
Period.
how we eat, what we eat. Rice, mainstay of our diet. Um, how we worship. I love how you do the hands because I
Yeah.
explain when people talk to me. I'm from Georgia, and I say you could go when you go to any African American church,
Yeah.
and you see that rhythmic hand clapping and foot stomping. That is Gullah Geechee, and
Yes.
it's traced directly back to West Africa.
Absolutely.
And that really you really see our roots.
Yeah.
So, have you met Dr. Eric Crawford, who released Gullah Spirituals last year?
No, but I have seen him live with his group before, and they sing a song, Adam in the Garden, and that was a song that I grew up hearing my grandfather George, my late grandfather George Boy Bush, he would sing in church, and then after he passed away, my aunt Thelma, my late aunt Thelma, would sing it. But yeah, and so hearing those spirituals is so important. And me as an artist, so I'm a singer, and I've gone all over the world performing. So I'm an international recording artist. I've sung with many people, and most recently I travel the world with Gloria Gaynor, who sings "I Will Survive." And so I've seen all of these different cultures, and one of the things I recognize for me, I'm always looked at for my energy on stage. And the one thing I can point to is my upbringing. I never realized why it was that way. I never realized. I just thought it was just me being me. It is me being me. But our spirituality as Gullah Geechees, you put everything in it, and just our spirituality as Black folks anyway, as Black folks, period. We worship with everything we have, and it is within our whole being. It is not being loud, it's being who we are. It's not being doing too much. No, it's what we want to show God as our appreciation. And so when I'm on stage, whether it be in Africa or or African Baptist here in Bluffton or on Hilton Head, wherever it is, it's just an energy about us, especially an energy about me. The journey, like you said, like your cousin, this journey is a very personal one. And so this festival is not immersive in the fact that, there's many different festivals you can go to and really, really learn about the culture, but it is a taste and it's a celebration to let folks know that we are still here. As long as Maryland is still living, as long as Latrice is still living, Gullah Geechee will never die. This is a culture that will last forever. Will it change and evolve? Absolutely, it has. We've changed, we've evolved, but living off of the land, living off of the water, I appreciate the fact that my father grew the vegetables that I grew up eating. I appreciate the fact that my mother and my aunts took those vegetables to Burton, South Carolina, and they canned the vegetables for the winter. I never understood why that was important, but it was important. I appreciate that you can go to a fisherman in the town and get your fresh catch, and you can trade that up. They can trade that for some corn and some tomatoes. We don't do that anymore. I think that I hate that we don't, But we, in our culture now, we may not be trading fish and tomatoes together, but maybe we should trade some skills. Trade a helping hand in certain things that we need to do. If I know something, then maybe I can share with you. You know something, share with me. I think that's the evolution that I would like to see our culture go to. No, we don't have to grow our vegetables anymore. No, but there's some other things that we're growing and learning that we can share, and they will make us better. And that's what I also love about the culture, and I miss it. I was raised by a village of people. It was not just Laura and Lee that raised Latrice. It was Aunt Thelma, Aunt Eva, Miss Ellen across the street. It was a lady up the street. When she saw me, she would call over. Latrice ain't doing right, Laura. You may want to talk to her when she comes. Where is that today? So those are the things that I miss, and I totally love about our community, and I want to embrace and thank the elders for passing it along. And I'm hoping that I can just do my little part to let them know we're still here, and that this culture is beautiful and it should be celebrated.
You said many things in there, so I'm going to try to remember everything that you said and pick, because I relate and connect to a lot of what you said.
Okay.
We raised by a village. Every Sunday we would gather as we were growing up. My dad was military also, so we left and we came back. But every Sunday we would gather at my grandmother's house, the entire extended family. It wasn't, the nuclear family is actually new. That's a new thing. 1950s, when suburbs were being developed. But the extended family, you see it when we gather as a family in cookouts, but you also saw it in those Sunday dinners at grandmama's house or big mama's house. And it wasn't just mother, daughter, father, son. It was the whole extended family. After
Cousins,
church,
yeah.
you would gather. Yes, guys. Then you would do something together after the meal. You always do something together. You might even go back to church.
Yeah,
You don't see it anymore. You used to go to church Sunday afternoon.
absolutely.
Or we would do a family thing. We would go to the beach or something as a family.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said evolve and evolutionary, because the Gullah Geechee culture, we are foundational
Yes.
and evolutionary.
Yeah.
We adjust
Yes.
because the nature of the culture itself that was created by our ancestors, they had to evolve in the hulls of the slave ships. From this one language, which was their African tribal language, they had to quickly realize we have to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So what do? You have to learn in the hulls, in the bottom of those ships. They took their various African tribal languages and the language of the persons who enslaved them and made a whole new language. That's evolutionary.
Oh my
So
God.
once you realize that we will always evolve, the language itself evolves. That's why you can go to Georgetown, where I live. You can go to Charleston. You could go to Hilton Head. You could go into Georgia, and you hear the language, but you may hear different dialects, because depending on where you went, where your ancestors finally landed,
Yep.
after they were brought ashore and sold and sent, you develop dialects within the language itself. And English is like that too. English is always reinventing itself, but even English is influenced by Gullah Geechee.
Yeah.
Because after the Civil War and our ancestors started migrating, the Eastern Seaboard, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. We went to the Midwest,
The migration,
Detroit,
the great migration.
Chicago, Detroit, and then out to California. But we also hit Louisiana, Mississippi first. Then we went to California. You can see the migration patterns.
Yes.
They took the language with them. They took the way of eating and cooking with them, and they adjusted it. That's when soul food started coming about. That's why it's foundational. There's a difference between soul food and Gullah food. Gullah food is one pot, and you tend to simmer the food. Where soul food, now you're really getting into frying the food. There is a difference. So because you evolve with those circumstances, but you keep the foundation of the culture with you. And even in the music, Gullah, we say Gullah spirituals, but Gullah is more than spirituals. Gullah is jazz. Yeah. And if it's jazz, it's blues. If it's blues, it's bluegrass. And
Yes.
I mentioned Dr. Eric Crawford in his book when he was on this show, and we pulled up some of the songs, videos from YouTube. You
Mhm.
can hear bluegrass
Yep.
because of the instrument. The banjo comes out of Africa,
It sure does.
and it evolved into the form it is now.
Hmm.
Uh, the drums. Uh, we received, we're working now to launch in 2023 the Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail. And we've been doing a number of focus groups and individual interviews. So we got to make sure we get you on our list, Latrice.
Yes.
And definitely the Fish and Grits Music Festival is going to be on the Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail website.
Yes.
But
Yes.
one of the stories we were told from folks from Edisto Island was when a little babe was born,
Yep.
they played the drums.
Mm.
And you get Edisto Island, it's water, it's low country, so it's a lot of water. They knew that the sound of the drum would go over the water, and the next person would pick it up, and they would continue the drum, and then the sound would travel over the water, and then that is how they informed people in Edisto Island, across the entire island. And there were about 4 or 5 people from Edisto Island in this focus group. So chills down the spine.
Yeah.
Woo!
No, that's chilling.
Bad. They were like, yeah, and you could hear it. She said, oh, it didn't matter if it was 2 o'clock in the morning. That drum started, you knew a babe was born.
Mm.
And it traveled across.
That's
music.
so
The
music.
water carried sound.
Yeah. And so when you talk about the the spirituals do, and that's what when I think about evolution for Gullah Geechee, for me, is that yes, that those spirituals I grew up on, those spirituals that were created to tell stories, that was a part of our communication as well. That's a part of how we communicated.
Oh, very much so. They told stories.
Yeah, they told stories. And so, but that is bluegrass, that is jazz, that's R&B, and that's what the Fish and Grits Music Festival is going to show. It's not, you may not hear a lot of the older spirituals, are not a lot, but you're going to hear what it absolutely influenced, which is R&B, jazz, gospel. You're going to hear, and then Africa as a whole. I was talking to Victoria Smalls from the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor, who is an endorser of the festival, the Fish and Grits Music Festival, and we were talking about how the enslaved Africans, there were a smaller percentage that was brought to North America, but a lot more Africans were taken to the Caribbean, to Brazil, to Cuba, to Puerto Rico,
South America. Yes, very much so.
And so I wanted to show how that connection is going to be. So even at the Fish and Grits Music Festival, we're going to have a Puerto Rican quartet there that will show those different sounds and how it's very much so African. Everything, it's the basis of everything. And when you talk about the food, soul food, you don't have soul food unless you have Gullah Geechee food. I don't think you have Creole food unless you have Gullah Geechee food. And so it all is an evolution, but we don't get the notice or the credit because we are ingrained in everything. I don't think maybe that's why. Maybe it's because we are the foundation of most of what is called Black, most of what is called African American. Maybe that's why there's this, the tendency not to give this great culture the awareness. But it has influenced not only our Black culture, but American culture as a whole. And I want to be able to do my part, shining a little spotlight at the Fish and Grits Music Fest. Now, Marilyn, and for your listeners now, this is the first year now. We can't do all this stuff in the first year. But this is our
No. The show must go on.
The show must go on.
The website with some of your lineup there, because even as listening to you, my brother is a musician that you need to be in touch with.
Okay.
R&B and jazz band. He's been doing it most of his life.
Good.
He grew up in the church, Baptist and AME.
All right.
There's I know a spoken word artist, Carando. There are folks, you have a wealth of talented people to tap into for years to come.
And for years
to come.
And you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And they all know other people. They know.
Yes.
And I think it's an opportunity to go back to our old gospel group, the gospel choir. You didn't know at the time growing up, you had the mass choir or the choir that was always named after a minister. You had the junior choir, you had the senior choir,
Yes.
but there was always the gospel choir. And they were always older folks. To me, they were older.
Yeah. Now we the
many of them
folks.
have died off now. You don't really see them that often. But they were the ones who retained the old Gullah spirituals.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't call them old Gullah spirituals. They just call them spirituals because they are gospel. Because you're right. And I tell people, again, we don't wake up in the morning saying, I am Gullah. We just are. It's just who you are. It's so ingrained. And that's one reason that we have to be very deliberate and active in growing our appreciation for who we are. You have to be very deliberate in taking the blinders off and seeing the culture.
But and like you said, and this is so important because I can't make the next person feel special about themselves. I am working on myself. I'm working on making sure that I feel proud about who I am. I met a woman the other day back in Atlanta, because I live in Atlanta, from Bluffton, but I live in Atlanta, and we had a mutual friend. And the mutual friend said, "Hey, this is my friend Latrice, and she's Gullah Geechee. She Geechee just like you." And that girl looked at me, and she looked just like me. She could have been my cousin. And she told him, "Don't call me that. I don't like being called that." And so there is still a pocket of us. Yes, there's still a large pocket of us that are not very proud of who we are, because of it's just that connotation and the distinct, how that the way that people used to look down on the Geechee, or down on the way that we sounded, the way that we looked. But I'm not here for it anymore. Let me tell you something. I can't make you feel special about who you are, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm proud to be Gullah Geechee. And at the Fish and Grits Music Festival, you're gonna hear some storytelling from Louise Cohen, and we're gonna take that up to a level to spoken word, because that has inspired spoken word. So Vascola Stoney is going to be doing spoken word. You're going to hear some gospel from Angela Bonaparte. You're going to hear some R&B from me and Gwen Yvette and Vought. And you're going to hear some Puerto Rican jazz from Frankie Quiones. And then you're going to eat some food. Because what I say about Gullah Geechee is about the people, the food, the spirituality, and the food. We got Melly Mel's. We got who's very, 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 very popular Gullah Geechee chef, Chef Bees Eats, Gullah Geechee chef. We also have Mama Joy's Kitchen. They're all going to have a variety of Gullah Geechee cuisine that you're going to love. We also have a Gullah Geechee from, I believe she's from St. Helena, Adrienne Johnson. She's a vegan, so she bring her vegan village truck. So we're going to have vegan options for people out there. And we're going to have Taco Brown. We're going to bring this diaspora together and have a little Latin flavor with Taco Brown. We're going to have some craft vendors, sweetgrass basket makers, Gullah Geechee designers, artists, etc. at this festival. But more than anything, we're going to have a celebration. It's going to be a fun time, really, really friendly and safe. You're at the Low Country Celebration Park in Hilton Head. They have a beautiful park, even across, right next to the park. They have a playground for kids. If you want to take your kids over there, they got a sandbox museum. If they're getting restless, you want to take your kids there. Whatever, but more importantly, it's going to be a beautiful day, October 1st. Gates open at 12. You can get your tickets at fishandgritsmusicfest.com.
So I'm pulling up the map. It's the Low Country Celebration Park, folks. The time and day, Saturday, October 1st, 1 to 6 p.m. This is the first one, but they need your support. You need to come on out, because this is a wonderful opportunity for us to appreciate who we are, celebrate who we are. Yeah. And you're right, Latrice, that there are people who still don't have don't have appreciation for who we are for various reasons. Various reasons. But we're working through that, and we are. Yes. Which, as we work through it, that means there's opportunity. In your path that you choose because of your background and talent and skills, it's the music path. My path is the economic marketing, Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail that's coming in 2023. Yes. That's our path. There's others that have a more cultural path, and so on and so on, because there's opportunity. We're a foundation evolutionary culture up and down the coast, from roughly Wilmington, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. And as you noted before, more went to South America. Others went to the Caribbean, then North America. We are all cousins. We are all family. It's just one boat stop. The difference. That's it. We see the same tribes and everything. It just depends on where your
Yeah.
ancestors were led off, they were sold, and then they went into the plantation system. And even once they were in that system, they were sold to other plantations and moved around. And then there was the migration after the Civil War, when folks went up the eastern seaboard to New York, New Jersey, and so on,
Yeah.
because they went for education and economic opportunity. So it's not about shaming people; it's about recognition. It's
Mm.
about recognition.
Yes.
Recognize.
Recognize.
It's very foundational, evolutionary, depending on geographics.
Absolutely.
And that speaks to our humanity. I have come to the point through our music, our food, how we react to things. The indigenous people, and Gullah Geechee are indigenous,
Yes.
will save us when it comes to climate change, the environmental justice piece, because of the practices that we have retained, that
Yes.
we are still acknowledging. And we have
Yes.
to hurry up and acknowledge those practices, whether it's through music or our hands, using the canning of our food,
Yes.
growing our food, bartering.
Yes.
Bartering is a straight thread to West Africa.
Mm.
The way we even leave our land and wealth to next generations is a straight thread to West Africa. You can see how we build our homes. Usually, big mama, big papa, grandma, grandpa, great grands. At this point, you give a piece of land to your child when they got married or of
Mm.
age, and they would build their house. So you could literally go in some, in Georgetown, there's a Lance town. Why? Because it's named after the Lance family. It's a whole community
Oh.
because they built it. But that's not the only one. There are multiple little
Yeah.
communities that you have to know the people. You got to be a binya to
Ah.
understand that. It's you might think it's Highway 51, but for us, we literally could say we could say 4 mile, we could say 7 mile community, 9 mile community, we could say Lansdowne, Oakland, Dunbar. And we know those are totally separate little communities because it's usually a family connection. The families built up
Absolutely.
around each other. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Yeah. We same
And there
same
are
here.
dozens of little communities like that. And it
It's
tells a
that's what it
story.
is.
It tells a
It
story.
is. And
Very
we
beautiful
yeah,
story.
and I love it too. I love that and that's one of the things we just need to continue to tell our stories. Our stories are relevant, and they do. And our younger my and I have siblings that have children. I don't have any children, but one of the things that I want to do, and I hope to do with my nieces and nephews, this is who we are. If nobody else told you, I'm telling you, you are Gullah Geechee, and this is why you should be proud. And we should continue to tell those stories. One of the things I'm proud about is my grandmother, my big mama, who did not have a ninth grade education, who had to shuck oysters at the oyster factory, who was a domestic for many years, but she left her children land. Now, this woman who made little to no money, how is it that she could purchase land, take care of land, and leave land? So there are stories, and there are lessons from the past, the present past, because we just got free. We just got some rights. We haven't had rights for a long time. These are new. These stories are relevant. They are fresh, and they don't need to be forgotten. They need to be shared. How did Big Mama do that? How did Big Mama save that money? How was she? How did she save so much with so little? And we have so much, and we lose. We lose so much. I mean, I don't. So I want to. That's what I want to share. But I can't save everybody. But I need to know that for myself, and I need to pass it on to my nieces and nephews, and we need to all do our part. So the Fish and Grits Music Festival, again, is a taste of Gullah, but it's mainly a way for Latrice to say thank you to a culture that means so much, and the culture that it embodies who I am. And I want to say thank you. I want to thank the Waterston Brands for being one of our biggest sponsors, the Native Island Business and Association Community Affairs Association Committee from Hilton Head, NIPCA, and the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor for endorsing us, and the MLK Committee for Justice on Hilton Head is also one of our benefactors as well. And so we just want to give back to the community. We want the community to come out and let's just have a good time.
I want to thank you, Latrice, for doing this. This is what's needed.
Oh,
It is. We all need to support each other, and we can be sponsors, y'all. Y'all need to be sponsors. Coming out and be a sponsor.
Yeah.
I am the Gullah Geechee Chamber Foundation. We're going to be a sponsor, Latrice. So I need to get
Thank
that to
you.
you.
Thank you so
Because
much.
this is the things. Well, with the Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail coming up, we need
Yes.
to talk long-term relationships too.
We do.
So yeah.
We
We
do.
do.
We do.
We do.
I was just and the last thing too, when you talk about you were talking earlier about the canning and the fishing and the growing our foods. I promise you, I think that those are skills that we're losing as well. I mean, I grew up in Bluffton. I was just walking this morning and I went to the oyster factory. I went to Wrights Park, this beautiful May River that we have here in Bluffton, and I never learned how to swim. I never learned how to fish. I never learned how to crab. I have not dug any oysters out of no mud, and I'm almost 50. And so I can't be talking too much about the younger generation when I never did the same things. I mean, because it's evolving, but that's a part of the evolution, right? I didn't necessarily have to, but those are skills I wish I had. Those are skills that I want to go back to learning and experiencing. Just going like your cousin, she engulfed herself in the culture for a year. I mean, those are some of the things that I want to get back to and at least learn and at least experience. And if you do just that, for all your listeners, if you do just that, just find out a little bit about what Gullah Geechee is, what the culture is, and what it means. Go back to your older generation and ask them questions about their past. And let them know that you thank them for all they sacrificed for us to be, enjoying the things that we're enjoying today. Because if it wasn't for my grandmother sacrificing and cleaning up those houses and shucking those oysters, where would I be today? If it wasn't for my father growing those vegetables and my mother canning them, where would I be today? And for them preserving this land that this house sits on, where would I be today? So I think we need to really appreciate our elders more and thank them for all they have done. And that's one of the things I want this festival to be able to do as well.
I don't know what else to say other than y'all need to go to the Fish and Grits, the Fish and Grits Music Festival website.
Yes.
Learn more about it and buy your tickets. If you want to be a sponsor, it's actually a beautiful, well-organized website. If you want to be a sponsor, go to the sponsors page. Vendors, go to the vendor page, and they have beautiful merchandise. So go to support. When you buy that merchandise, you're supporting sustainability of this festival and the growth of this festival. Beautiful words. I will tell you one thing, Latrice, and you and I have to have more conversation. I know we're all busy. It's y'all. This is the first time me and Latrice have seen each other's face to face.
Yeah.
It's emails, phone calls, but that's how we roll because we're all in growth phase. But one of the things, it's another beautiful story. My cousin, who's the shoe designer, and then Jocelyn Patterson, I give her credit, and she told me she took that year to learn and appreciate who she was, Gullah Geechee. But one of the things she also learned, her sandal design has a circle of sweetgrass.
Oh.
That's sweet. And if you understand sweetgrass basket, every sweetgrass basket starts with a circle. It doesn't matter what shape it ends up, it must start with that circle.
Wow.
She took that circle and she put it on the sandal.
Oh.
Because the sandal is leather. It's very authentic. It's not leather. It's not manufactured plastic. It's genuine leather.
Yeah.
Beautifully made craft because it celebrates the culture. It celebrates who we are, being very authentic, organic, back close to nature. Our ancestors were brought here because of their knowledge of how to control water and manage the land to grow the indigo, rice, sea island cotton, and sugar cane. That's why they're not. So we are inherently deeply connected to the water and the land, and we must take care of what sustains us, which provides us sustenance. which allows us to take sweetgrass and make beautiful baskets that were utilitarian, but are now beautiful pieces of art that you can find in the Smithsonian. So
Yes.
many of our sweetgrass baskets are artists, but it's all rooted along with the music, the
Yes.
spirituals, the jazz, bluegrass, blues, hip hop, spoken
Yep.
word. It's rooted in our storytelling, rooted in our musical instruments, which include our hands and our feet,
Yes.
and
No.
what nature provided us. So everything that it's Latrice. Thank you for recognizing
Oh yeah. And one of the things
your
that you
path is this music, your skills, your
Yes.
experience that brought you back home
Mm.
to do exactly what you do.
Absolutely. And one thing I'll say that you because you said that so beautifully, our ancestors were brought because of their knowledge of how to control the water and the land, and but they were brought here also. I want people to know they were brought here because they were intelligent, ingenious people. They were yeah, these were scientists. These are astrologists. They knew. So
If you
when
control the water and you manage the
no,
land, that's engineering,
you're
building,
engineering
science,
and building and
academics,
industrious.
doctors,
Come
medicine men.
on.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
wasn't just. Mhm.
so don't let anybody listen to how you sound and your dialect and make you feel inferior. No, you come from that's why I was like, no, you come from amazing people. You come from amazing people. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about what you're doing. I definitely want to find out about your cousin's shoes. I want to get me a pair, and
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 her website's out there too. Yeah.
yeah, no, we
Yeah.
gotta support each other. You're right. Gullah Tees and Teens is another young designer that's doing great things as well. And so yeah, we gotta support each other. And again, Marilyn, I thank God for you. I pray that He continues to bless the work that you're doing, and and don't give up. Like I said, like you told me, it's the first year, but every little bit counts. And I thought that I literally thought when I first started this that people are going to think that here's another festival. But everybody I've talked to was like, no, we need more. We need more of this. We
We
need
need more.
more.
Yeah, because so my mission of the Gullah Geechee Chamber is to raise global awareness,
Mm,
profitability, and sustainability of African American businesses. We're global. We're already global. I'm just raising awareness. I'm just one more cog in the wheel of raising awareness. We're
Okay.
already global. You already said it. More of our family went to South America.
You're right. You're right.
We
We're
got
already
South
global.
America. South America has to come here, and we got to make those connections. Cuba, Panama, Haiti. Haiti,
Yes.
our people. They our people. If Haiti hurts, we all hurt.
Yes.
Haiti was the first revolution that they took their own emancipation,
They sure did.
and then they slapped them with $34 billion they had to pay back. That's why. So that's why you have to understand your history. That's why you have to listen to the music, because the music tells the story.
Mm.
Wade in the water was not just go wade in the water. It was telling you what to do.
Yes. Stay in the field until the war has ended.
My hand is on the plow. I tell people, somebody stood in the field, could not see me, could not see future generations. They wanted emancipation, not just for themselves, but for future generations that they would never know. Think about that.
Yes. They thought about
us as ancestors, but
Yep.
somebody stood in the house, somebody stood in the field and fought and cried and yelled and sang for freedom, not only for themselves, but future generations.
Yes, for Marilyn and for Latrice.
That's right.
And for all of y'all. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So once you understand that, you hear it in the music. I'm going to end with this one because I was privy to I can't remember the song, but it has something to do with water, because water is so important to us, our culture. But when we were watching the video, and at the end of the video, I said, not only did you hear the spiritual, and she was singing the spiritual, and she started out slow, then she started clapping and picking up the pace, and I said, in that 2-minute video, I said you can hear the origins of jazz. In that spiritual, the way, and we all, when you go to an African American church, the songs start out slow. We pick up that rhythm, and in the hand claps, and you could change on the dime depending on who's singing and understanding it, who's lining the hymn. You can change the rhythm on. That is jazz. That is literally, I said, you literally heard her give us the lesson by the way she sang the song.
Oh. That's
That's
so
who we are.
That's who we are. So let me end with one of my favorite Gullah Geechee songs, if you don't mind.
No, please do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when my grandfather would get up in church and he would sing, he start this song, I would just go crazy in my little spirit. He said, and of course I can't sing it like him because he was a big 6'3", 6'4" man, but I'm gonna sing it in my way. He says, where is Adam? Adam in the garden picking up leaves. Where is Adam? Adam in the garden picking up leaves. Picking up leaves. Adam in the garden picking up leaves. Picking up leaves. Adam in the garden picking up leaves. Thank you.
I want to thank Latrice Bush for joining us today to talk about the Fish and Grits Festival. What a way to end our show. Thank you. And everyone, remember to go to the website. The Fish and Grits Music Festival is happening October 1st. And we are excited, and we'll be talking, Latrice. So I got to make sure to look at my schedule and make sure that we have a presence there also. But everyone, thank you for joining us today. And Latrice, thank you for joining us. And
yes,
we are deeply appreciative of you singing our way out of here.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. And we'll be seeing you later.
Bye-bye.
And everyone, that is Miss Latrice Bush. What a wonderful way to end our show today. Join us at the Fish and Grits Music Festival on October 1st. Go to the website where you can learn more to purchase your tickets. And I also want to remind you that we do a gathering place every Sunday and Wednesday, at on our social media at 4:00 p.m. And this coming Wednesday, we will be joined by Victoria Smalls, Executive Director of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Commission. Victoria is going to grace us with her presence, and we hope every quarter so we can get the update on what's going on with the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Commission and all of the activities and events and what's going on in all the communities along the Gullah Geechee diaspora. So we look forward to that this Wednesday at 4:00. Come on back and join us. And of course, let's see you at the Fish and Grits Music Festival on October 1st, 2022 in Hilton Head, South Carolina at the beautiful Low Country Celebration Park. And once again, we want to thank Latrice Bush for joining us today and really just sharing her talent with us. And then just a reminder, happening on Saturday, October 15th, save the date for the Gullah Geechee Environmental and Energy Conference. We are the indigenous people. We are part of the solution when it comes to climate change, and we want you to learn more about our cultural track, the environmental track, and of course our energy track. We're going to be focused on electric vehicles, Black-owned and managed farms and community gardens, aquaponics, and of course water and air quality. This is open to everyone. It's in person at the Howard Center in Georgetown, South Carolina, and you can also attend and view some of our sessions virtually coming from Georgetown. Looking forward to everybody. And Latrice, thank you for joining us again. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a great day.